I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trade.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What the fuck is up? Welcome to another already dead, already fucked it up. Austin's out today. Today we have Jules. We are joined by Foundring as the guest today. Jules will be back next, or not Jules. I keep going swapping Jules and Austin. Austin will be back next week. So
Dude, you had one job, man.
I have one job. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I do other things. Whatever. But yeah, we have Austin will be back next week. But today we have a guest with you and Jules. Jules does this fine. We love Jules here. But Austin will be back next week. I'm just mostly letting you guys, because we stream this to Austin's platforms as well. And just so you guys know, he will be back. He'll be back next week. We have William Ramsey on with us next week. I, for one, have a stacked schedule for you guys soon. I have a Vegas episode dropping soon. I'm doing a part 2. Bunch of other stuff. Tripoli episode should be dropping any fucking minute now. And I have one with them next month, me and Austin as well. So a lot of shit. Good to be with you guys. What is up, Foundring? You want to let my audience know who you are? Obviously, as we can tell by the chat, I think most people do. But just to be sure, I don't know, just for good measure, let some of my audience that don't know who you are, let them know about you, what you're about, all that good stuff. You were hyped by that song, by the way. I could tell.
I was hyped. Yeah, well, I was hyped also to see some of my homies on that screen, just like Tim Russert, calling out Bush for being in Skull and Bones. Just like, that's a real guy, right? Like, you could just tell by that grin on his face as he's asking that question. Just he knows he's being super naughty by doing that.
Did you jizz on Geronimo? I know you did it. And
he asked the same thing to Kerry too, John Kerry.
Yeah,
who was also in Skull and Bones, right?
Is it jizz on Geronimo or piss on Geronimo? I forget.
Jizz is more like it's got that alliteration going on, so it sounds good.
Right? Yeah. I don't know, but you know that's a thing, right? That that's the rumor of Skull and Bones. They either jizz or piss. Yeah, they took his skull. Yeah,
they may drink something out of his skull or something. I've heard a few.
And
things.
then they tie a ribbon around their boner or something.
They're all saying jizz. So.
No, I think they tie a ribbon around their boners and then they talk about their sexual exploits. It's very gay. It's very gay.
Yes.
It's kind of like was it Bohemian Grove? What is it?
Reagan, most goddamn faggy thing.
No, it was Nixon who said that.
Nixon, yeah.
Oh, Nixon said it was the faggiest goddamn thing I've ever seen. So, and if I'm gonna trust anyone, it's gonna be Nixon. Anyway, so yeah, hey, I'm Foundring. I like conspiracies and I sing about them. I'm a musician. I'm a piano player. I play classical piano, but then I started getting into jazz and ragtime and the heathen genres, right? The devil's music. And I kind of started getting censored a lot. And then I realized that you can actually sing things generally and get away with it more than just saying things, because you can kind of hide behind that thin sheen of art, right? And with so much degenerate nonsense being pushed by the record industry. I'm like, I feel like I could use their tricks against them. And so I try to kind of commandeer their poppy formulas and catchy rhythms, and I try to use it against to fight back against the status quo.
Wait,
So
is
that's
Ben Folds your pseudonym? Is that what it is? Is Ben Folds your pseudonym? No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I grew up on all that.
Yeah,
stuff,
he does a bunch of like rap covers. That's just the first thing he can. For those who didn't get that deep cut, I know him for doing like really really over the top like rap, like explicit rap covers, and it's like very white. Like I don't even know how to explain how you do it. Like bitches ain't shit but hoes and like that kind of stuff. Like I don't know. I dig it. It's a different
era. Like like these people that they were pretty talented, and they went the pop route. But it was back when you could actually you had to even Weird Al, right? He's got a lot of talent, and the idea of doing this parody and sort of as this biting satirical way to challenge the status quo. It's really cool, and it is something that's been going on for. To be real, thousands of years. Like that is how you made fun of the Caesar back in Roman times, right? Or like if you want to make fun of the king during Shakespeare times, you could do it. You could make fun of the Shylock Jew that is stealing all the money, right? Shakespeare's doing that, right? Like it was the medium. It was the chance for the pressure valve, right? The court jester was the guy who basically could make fun of the king and get away with it. And then
not get his head chopped off.
Right, exactly. Right. So I don't know. It's like I feel like it's something that they went after hard, starting in the 90s to 2000s. Then it really ramped up in the last 10, 15 years as they went after comedy. They went after the satire artist, and it's like I'm looking around. And I'm like, where are the Weird Owls today? And I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are doing it, but they're just censored. So I felt like, you know what, I might as well just throw my proverbial hat in the ring. So here we are.
Even Weird Al, I don't really. I mean, I guess I never like followed his career closely, but I don't feel like he ever really got too, too contentious. I don't know. I don't remember anything that was like too over the line. It was all pretty like locker room, not even locker room, like almost like fart humor, kind of like that. Is that kind of vibe?
What was it? The Illuminati Knows song, and then he had like some song about a rabbi. Too fly for a rabbi.
He did that.
Right?
He pushed that, and then he like appropriated the black people's music, right? Like doing all the Michael Jackson stuff. So he was kind of, yes, you're right. Though I will mention, speaking of these guys, the old guys, Tom Lehrer would be the counterpart to that, right? So he was a guy who played piano and people know him for the Element song where he sings all the elements. He's like, there's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen and rhenium. But he did a whole bunch of songs that got banned. In fact, he was almost arrested in Australia when he was on tour. And so he did a lot of this biting satirical stuff, making fun of the Henry Kissingers of his era. In fact, that's why he started he stopped writing writing satire songs in the 70s when Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize. Because he's like, in a world where Henry Kissinger wins a Nobel Peace Prize, basically political satire it doesn't really exist anymore. It's not even needed anymore. Well, here we are now, and things have gotten even way deeper into clown world. So it's like, actually, the satire I think is still useful, because every headline I read is like, is this the Onion? Is this the Babylon Bee? It's wild.
I do think we're at a paradigm shift, though. I think things are changing. We bring up I brought up the Elon thing multiple times in episode. We are the media now. Obviously, it's kind of like gay in a certain way, and from Elon saying you're like kind of fuck off nerd, but it is like there's something to that. Like we are kind of the media now. I mean, to the extent that they are now basically giving press passes supposedly to like podcasters and like new media types and stuff like that. That's like, I think that's news from like today.
That's right. That's just what I was thinking. They're also bringing back, I think they got rid of 400 people's press passes, and now they're restoring them. And then they're inviting basically anyone. And like half of my feed today was like, I just applied to get a press pass for the White House. And I'm like, hey, that's awesome. I mean, I don't think I want to do that.
Lots of great
my goal
people.
is to be the White House pianist. That's my goal.
Yeah, like for example, like Radix Verum, I saw somebody throw her name in the thing. She's done a lot of great coverage. A particular thing, the Whitmer kidnapping.
She made a documentary on it or something.
She's working on it. It's working on it. It's in the wings. And then
that's risky stuff too, because even those people are still in jail, right? They released the J6s, but not even those guys yet.
No, actually, there was a news that came out today. There was two people There was a new one of the trials that was for two of them, I think, that they got denied I believe their appeal. So they're I mean, it was looking good for a lot of these people, but another couple of them that fell through. It's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, even the fact, like, once you look at the rates of imprisonment when it comes to what's the word I'm looking for? The entrapment cases when it comes to
federal cases, especially in certain jurisdictions, are almost
it's a slam dunk.
9%,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, it's retarded. And the fact that like even like some mixed bag, it's like almost, I want to say in the realm of over half of them have essentially gone free. So it's like we're at the point where it's ridiculous. And then there was the attorney general from Michigan, I think, just the other day was talking about fucking. She put out right after the pardons. She was like, she put out this weird message about how like just reminding people that the president can't do anything about state crimes, and like that's a big part of the dynamic when it comes to this Whitmer stuff. Is some stuff is like federal, some state, and then also they've been kind of dragging their feet on some of the charges to where it's like it's kind of like just chilling in the wings. So. I mean, that's kind of like the next, in my opinion, logical thing that he should be pardoning, but that's I think might be part of the reason why, where it's not as simple as a lot of other things. But yeah, anyways, I also Dave DeCamp I thought was another one that I like saw out there, but there's so many great people I know of that I'm like, that would be so fucking sick. I mean, there's a good chance we might get a little bit disappointed, and then we just end up with like the fucking like Lady Troon USA or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shticky new, like, I don't know, fucking Mario Nafal or something, like as if I give a fuck what he has to say. Like, nothing against him. I just don't give a fuck about you. I don't know anything about you. I just see you have a bajillion. I always see your posts. I mean, I don't know, just a faceless entity to me. You know what I mean? Like, just like a boring. It's kind of like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a Lex Friedman or something. You know what I mean? Oh, God. But I don't know. My point being is we could get let down. I think we're just at a mixed bag when it comes to Trump right now. It's kind of hard to get a feel on what this new administration is going to be like. We're swinging back and forth so hard from it's so over to we're so back that it's like we're our head spinning. So just kind of what are your thoughts on that, Foundring? Like where are you at? Because I've definitely, I mean, shit, we were just talking about I have a tinfoil hat episode. I actually gave a message in that episode about like cautious optimism, and I leaned at a lot of the stuff with like the ceasefire and stuff, and there's been lots of little details that have changed since then, and I'm like, fuck. Like, I don't know if, like, I wouldn't put it that way. I still am kind of, like, semi-hopeful, but I'm not as hopeful as I was when I put that out. But even then, there's always ends up being some other thing and then some other different thing in, like, a different aspect of something. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's cool. But I don't know. I'm all over the place. How are you feeling? How is your state of mind? Not that I'm, like, too concerned about my actual well-being, but so far as coverage. I'm running a daily show now, too, so it is also, like, covering. You're like, it's much more, you know?
Well, it's exhausting. I mean, again, this pace is blistering that we are seeing with this. The social media landscape is just, it's really hard to keep up. And I'm like a schizo autist type who's always just like wanting the next thing. And even I'm having to like just step back. But I guess as to how I'm feeling, I think I'm in line with you. And as to give you the most pretentious answer possible, I'd be like, this is what it feels like to be an artist, if that makes sense. And that this sort of intense emotional rise and fall is kind of something that you do when you create stuff, right? When you're writing songs or whatever you're doing as an artist. I mean, that's just what I do, right? And I have this bipolar like elation moments followed by just these crashes of like, it's just, we're done. It's over. I'm a failure, right? And it's feel like things are changing so fast that we're all being fast tracked into sort of this artistic, creative type mentality when just sitting back and just letting things flow is not really going to happen anymore. And I mean, we saw that speeding up in the last, few decades. Maybe 9/11 would be that point of when things really, that crux. But really in the COVID era, things have been moving so rapidly and there's been so many rises and falls on all sides, no matter what you are, where you fall on your political persuasion is. I'm seeing a lot of these headlines. I'm being like, all right, yeah, this is great. And then I can imagine the liberal types are seeing these and they have this existential dread probably that they're feeling with a lot of this stuff. And I'm a little bit concerned about them. But at the same time, I'm like, it's been, the COVID era was like existential dread for me. And we can kind of get into that if you want. But like, I sort of got into the conspiracy and then the virus pandemic stuff early on. And I was expecting a COVID type thing for many years. And then when it hit, I'm like, oh, this is it. So I never really was afraid of of like a disease. It was more, I was afraid of like the people around me that were just, I'm in California, and it was just this delusion and this unrest and this sense of just existential, like I said, this dread. And I could feel it so oppressive all around me. And I'm like, I'm just trying to like be happy. And I was the one that I have a kid, and I was like the only parent that was like, yeah, kids can play and like we can go outside and hang out. And everyone was just afraid for like 2 years and just going through that. And I feel like we're being subjected to a lot of this stuff, this rise and fall as a way to disorient us. And a lot of it is because they don't really know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, I'm not one who's like, oh, there's a grand plan and this is all part of everything, but there certainly is a plan that has been going on for a while. And there's been bumps, and the Trump aspect is, I'm still on the fence about. I mean, I wish I knew I had a better answer for it, but I see a lot of good things that are happening in the last week or so that I'm pleasantly surprised by. And then a lot of stuff, it's like, oh, we're just going to reinforce the narrative and we're just going to memory hold this. And even today with the drone stuff, they're just like, oh yeah, the drones, that was us. And we lied about it. I mean, I say we because it's the U.S. government. It's a different administration, but it's still the U.S. government. And right, they have the answers to what this actually was. Same people. And so I'm like, okay, how much is actually changing? How much is this a new face? But enough is changing that I'm like, they're fighting with each other. And they've been fighting these different factions. And it's not just two, but like certainly there are ones that have more sway than others. So again, you can't be especially as a parent, you can't be pessimistic all the time, because then that just gives bad vibes, right? So I'm trying to be optimistic as much as I can. Even through COVID, I'm like, this is the best thing that could happen, because now people are going to start questioning vaccines. Now I can like confidently say, maybe we should talk about the vaccine issue without getting completely buried and just like insults and threats and everything. And so I'm seeing the dialogue and the narrative, the Overton window and all that stuff is shifting in a way that I'm like, I can't see it as anything but empowering. Yeah. So I'm trying to feel empowered as well.
Yeah.
Well, they oh, sorry.
No, it's just, I was passing it back to you because I accidentally stepped up you, but go ahead.
I was going to say they've kind of kept us trapped in this little paradigm for so long now, just like trying to pin each side on each other. But like you said, there's a lot more than just two sides.
I think we're seeing that play out like every day in all these news cycles. And I think that even people in charge right now are kind of like, oh my God, like we don't really know what is going to happen. And they're not like, there's certain things that need to be disclosed. I mean, the JFK and all this stuff and props to the new press secretary and kind of getting all this stuff out there and all that. And even talking about the drones, I'll give Trump credit for that. He said the other day when he was signing executive orders, he's like, yeah. Oh, so was it Susan Wiles, right? His whatever the lady. He's like, yeah. Can you figure that out? Let's find out what the heck that was. And Trump probably knows. And then like Trump he just right before we started here, I saw a headline. He's calling on Elon to do a SpaceX mission to go rescue the two astronauts that have been stuck in the space station supposedly for, I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but like a lot of this stuff just seems very performative and just like theatrical. And Elon himself is very theatrical, and him being like, I'm the best, Diablo and whatever player. And then it's like, oh, actually, no, he's paying other people to do all this. And it's just this persona. And, we're, like you said, we're getting inundated with all these Mario Nafals and all these guys that are these poster boys for the new corporate, paradigm. The new corporate. Yeah. And so it's like, where do we fit in? Where we're trying to figure out where to in this new ecosystem. And it's exciting and exhilarating. I feel like we're in a new era that sort of us old fags kind of got to live through, right? So like I cut my teeth, right? I came to my own like in the 2000s in the early internet, investigating 9/11, looking into and listening to Alex Jones and Bill Cooper, right? And all that stuff. And it was this wild west of the internet. And it's never going to go back to that, sadly. And the kids these days have no idea what it was like. It was incredible, and it was very formative for many of us that are doing this now. And now it's a different type of frontier. And I'm not quite. It's a lot faker and gayer. It's a lot more heaven banny, a lot more dead internet-y. I think a lot of these Wild West things kind of got nipped in the bud a little bit. And now have been corralled into sort of this more narrative. Does
X feel a little dead to you? Is that what you're implying?
Yeah.
It does feel dead lately, doesn't it? I mean, not that I'm like, you say that and you're like, you feel like you're saying, I mean, it's hard for me because I don't actually use it that much. I frankly mostly just like every now and then when I feel compelled to, very rarely. I'm always doing something, but like I do a lot of promos. So part of me is like, oh, I figured maybe I'm lowering it, but it's like I also know that like it's incredibly like there was one time I have over 10,000 followers. There's one time I put like a week over this week I put out a promo for one of my shows. I fucking in an hour before, and I got 1 like. And you're like, you gotta be, that doesn't make sense. Like, and I get it, it's a promo, so you're like, hey, go check out this link, whatever. But like, dude, you're like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway, sorry, I'm just throwing off. I feel the suppression. Like,
I think it's a cycle. I think
it's cyclical. It feels like
it's cyclical, and I notice it, and then I'm like, I'm posting stuff, and then just no engagement. And then I'm posting way worse stuff, and then it's just exploding, and it comes and goes in waves, and I think it responds to your activity and the things that you say. And of course it's the same sort of gaslighting, making you not know when you're being punished. Just look, I got banned off of YouTube a few years ago, but I was on it for almost 2 decades. I was on it for 16
Xerox,
years.
I'm aware they lower your reach. That's my point. But I'm saying it's a ridiculous amount of reach to be lowered. Like with a 10,000 follower account to be like 1 like over an hour, even if it is a promo. That makes no fucking sense to me.
And I wonder how much is human agency behind it, and it's more just this weird faithless Borg algorithm, like Skynet type thing, that it's become this weirdly experiment now, and it makes us, we're like little hamsters, and it makes me feel really awkward and uncomfortable, and makes me want to like step back from the internet.
It is weird never knowing what the algorithm is incentivizing either. So that's part of why I guess like I got bored with it. I don't really use it that much. Every now and then I pop in, but it is like there's times where I can tell where I'll just get on a tear and I'll be posting a bunch and I'll just notice it'll incentivize it. There'll also be times where I'll post maybe once a day and it'll incentivize that. So it's like it seems like it goes through these periods of times where I'm just noticing it's incentivizing certain types of behavior, and you're like, it's almost like they're changing their mind. You're like, which fucking one is it? Do you want me to be schizophrenically posting all the fucking time? Do you want me to be, because it used to be, there was definitely a period of time where Twitter incentivized posting maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and that's it. So yeah, I don't know. Just it is bizarre. It is weird. I mean, especially like you do notice these patterns. I sound like I'm being crazy. I'm like, I deserve more likes, but it's like, no, I'm noticing patterns, and I feel like it's weird. I'm not even like upset about it. I'm like, people still come to the show, like whatever. It's just weird. It's just Twitter. I don't give a shit. But it is like I do and you extrapolate that out, and you're like, how does this affect groups? Like, how is this going to affect groups? How is this affecting behavior? How is this going to affect this new corporate, as we were kind of mentioning with like Nafal? I did want to kind of touch back on your theater point, because and this is this made me think about, because you're kind of like this whole world's a stage type thing, and I don't know to what extent this is true. Like when I was on Tinfoil Hat, I mean, it's going to be coming out soon. The just a little bit of peek behind the curtain. I kind of made a case for cautious optimism. What I talked about was Israel particularly, and the examples I used were, for example, the TikTok ban and the fact that he extended that. Obviously, there's an asterisk there, and the fact that like they're still making them sell off, but it delayed it. So and Israel was upset about that. So that's kind of like, Israel took a little bit of an L there. Then you had the peace deal, which they were very upset about. There were multiple members in the Knesset that were threatening to resign, and one of them did. And then actually that caused them to lose the amount of votes. So now they went from having a pretty decent majority in the Knesset to only a slight majority. Now Ben Gvir, the guy who resigned, which I brought all this up, he was the one who was like throwing a bitch fit and fucking like left. And then now like they own that, after him leaving, left Netanyahu with like a slim majority in the Knesset, like their Congress. But just recently, I think it was like yesterday or the day before, there was news that came out that Ben Gvir was like slobbering all over Trump's knob, because Trump made this kind of pivot to where he not even necessarily pivot, because I mean you can kind of support both, but he went from this peace deal and now he's talking about voluntary immigration, which is like, hey, I bombed your fucking home, you should probably move. So he's supporting that, which is what they wanted from the beginning. So now, like, my point being is like you have this one character who's kind of becomes this face of like, I'm going to make a show about how mad I am I don't get to kill Palestinians. And then now, give it a few days, and then I'll be like, fucking dope. Like, you see what I mean? We sell this idea of like, whoa, and so this is kind of this world's a stage shit, and you're like, God fucking damn it, they got me again. Like, that was specifically the Ben Gavir thing is really fucking like pissed me off later. For one, it threw me for a turn, and for like two, you're like, God damn it, I just said some shit about you on a really fucking big show, like, and you're making me look fucking stupid. So I don't know if you have any thoughts. I just thought that was like kind of a prescient example of like world being a stage, like. And let's be real, like, who knows? That finance minister, Ben Gavir, likely may have wanted to retire anyways. You know what I mean? So he's like, hey, throw a bitch fit, you fucking get out, and then, like, hey, you get what you want anyways, and we get to act like Israel took a big fucking steam and dump, like you took a big steam and dump on us, and we took such a big fucking L. And you're like, no, cool, we're going to stop genocide, but now you guys need to get the fuck out, or we're probably going to pick up genocide again. So I don't know. I guess I'm also assuming, I don't even know your position on the Israel stuff. I assume that you're kind of cool. I've seen you say some pretty contentious things about the small hats. So
he's made some pretty banger songs about it.
I sing them.
I don't mean
there's certain things you cannot say, so sing them all instead. I think a wise man.
Such a banger, bro. Such a banger.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of perception management going on right now, and I think these high profile people coming and going they're never really the real movers and shakers. I want to say. I mean, there's exceptions to that, obviously, but the Silicon Valley guys, and then the realignment that's been happening, and then the rehabilitation of the Bezos and the Zuckerbergs, and all that is just very suspect. And I saw someone commented just about X as a honeypot, and
Juan.
Juan, yeah.
And
I kind of made a tweet a long time ago that I called X a Mossad honeypot about over a year ago, and I spent a lot of time on Reddit.
I'm straight.
Which is something I don't always like to admit, but in the early days of Reddit, it was actually pretty based, and there was a lot of good stuff going on there. And I came head to head with a lot of the the JIDL, the Jewish Internet Defense League, and a lot of So back
those,
what's that?
I didn't know they had one of those. I know they had like a
goodness.
They got all like those, dude.
It's half the internet is the JI. No, but back in the early days of Reddit, Ghislaine Maxwell was a power mod. She was the first user to reach 1 million karma points on Reddit. And I kind of like butted heads with her, not knowing who she was in the early days. And I found that there's certain topics that you couldn't really talk about. Namely, vaccines were a big one. Israel was a big one. And technology, anti-gravity technology, questioning Einsteinian physics and all this stuff. I mean, this ties straight into the drones. And then the was that guy that was like, oh, it's Chinese gravitic thing.
Livelsberger.
Like, yes, right.
Yeah, the Cybertruck guy, right? Is that what you're talking about?
That's right.
Yeah.
And how that is all part of this psyop of like, there's this new but we've been looking into this shit for 100 years, if not longer, right? If you want to go back to ancient times, we maybe have had it for longer, but there's this idea of like a breakaway civilization. Are you guys familiar with that concept?
In what context specifically? In which way?
Well, so I think maybe Richard Dolan is the guy that coined the term. I could be wrong about that. The idea is that there is a separate civilization that has broken off from our normal human one. And this doesn't have to be alien shit, right? But basically, it doesn't have to necessarily be off planet per se, but they're basically operating with an entirely different financial system and an entirely different system of physics, if that makes sense.
Physics.
Yeah. So
extra dimensional thingies, or because like you'd have to be in a different universe to have different rules of physics or do something.
No.
Is this down below the ice wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. So one of the theories of the breakaway civilization is that yes, the Earth is actually bigger, and this doesn't have to be a flat Earth thing. It can be, but the idea is that there are realms beyond our own, and that we've known about them for a really long time, and that we're kind of slowly colonizing them around us. Like this is a whole different rabbit hole, but it is in line with this idea of different technology, and that the Elon Musk SpaceX rocket propulsion technology is like firecrackers. It's nonsense. They're obsolete as fuck, and they have been for a really long time. And so when we're talking like other types of physics, it's not like we're going into different dimensions. What I mean is that the paradigms, look, there's no unified theory of physics. We're still trying to rectify the big and the small, right? The quantum mechanics, and it doesn't really mesh when we try to make the same rules apply for the big and the small, right? What did the ancients say? As above, so below, right? We're still trying to find that connection. And
something's off. Yeah, something's not off.
And even with the nuclear bombs, their yields, you know what I mean by say yield, like the energy release and stuff, were varying in a way. And there's some that say, oh, this tech it's not even real. The nuclear bombs aren't even real.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But no, I think it's more complicated than that, in that it is tapping into energies and forces that are not mainstream, right? But they have been, just going back to Tesla and kind of this Einstein, and even Einstein was looking for, what it comes down to is gravity and electromagnetism, and that they are intrinsically linked in this. There's a coupling relationship between the two. And regular physics says, mainstream physics says gravity is this, there's the space-time continuum, and there's large objects, they bend the space-time, and blah, 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 blah. Well, that falls flat when you try to take it down to the quantum realm. And it really is fake and gay. It's not real. Like this Einstein shit is retarded, for lack of a
Einstein's fake and gay, right? I mean,
Einstein's fake and gay. Well, I mean, it's like, again, you don't need to throw out the whole thing, the baby with the bathwater. There's elements there that are good. And like you go back to this guy Maxwell and his equations. And then you had this guy, Oliver Heaviside, and he kind of truncated them and he cut out some of the things. I can summarize this with one man, Thomas Townsend Brown. Have you heard of that guy? Either of you guys?
No, I can't say I have.
Thomas Townsend Brown.
Thomas Townsend Brown. No.
He's like
his Brown's gas guy?
Yeah, I was about to ask if that's the hydrogen gas or whatever it's
no,
called.
No, the car guy.
No.
This goes back even earlier. So this is a guy that's, I think a quote is like, his importance is inversely proportional to how well known he is. In other words, it's like almost nobody knows about him, but he's extremely important. Basically, he came up, he's an American. He was born in Ohio in the early 1900s, and was a brilliant kid. He in like 1912 made a wireless system that worked around his own house. So he had a little wireless earpiece and can communicate by phone directly through wirelessly with his family, just around his house and stuff. And he was just like 12 years old. And when he was in college, he started theorizing about gravity as being a force that permeates. And he's not the only one that talked about this. Tesla went there as well. And there's even NASA guys have been speculating about this. In other words, gravity is not necessarily a pull. It's more of a push. And he was writing papers about this like in the 20s, this Brown guy. And the idea is there's this ether type, there's this medium that is all around us. And then there's ether wave type things, and people have called them different things, gravitons, yada, yada, yada. But there's constantly pushing you from all directions. So if you are on the top of a planet, let's say, or a plane, whatever, if you want to go there, what's keeping you is not a sucking force from this giant object, but in fact, you're being pushed all around, and this giant object that's underneath you is blocking the push from the other side, and you're instead getting pushed on from above, if that makes sense, right? To keep you on the planet, because there's this force that's permeating everywhere. And what this means is that this force could actually be engineered on a local scale, right? So when you're dealing with a giant object and bending space-time, you can't necessarily create a planet and then alter gravity and fly a plane with that, if that makes sense. But if gravity is actually of these little tiny whatever, they can be. And then he took it further and was like, maybe there is a connection between electromagnetism
and gravity.
Mm-hmm. And so he started doing these experiments and discovered an effect called electrogravitics. It's a whole field of study that is, I mean, it's been around for over 100 years, since the 1920s.
I think I've heard about this guy. I just didn't remember his name, but yeah, go on.
And essentially, well, the effect was called the Befield-Brown effect because he kind of did it. He released it with his professor at the time, but it was really this guy, Thomas Townsend Brown, that came up with it. And look, he was involved with the Philadelphia experiment. You guys know about the Philadelphia experiment?
I've heard it. I can't remember specifically.
So that's when in 1943, during World War II, they basically made a giant Navy ship disappear. And Einstein was involved with it, and it reappeared again.
And cosmic horde ensued.
Yes, right. And then the sailors were fused into the hull of the ship. It was a just gruesome experience. So Thomas Townsend Brown was one of the main guys behind that one as well. So just to wrap this sort of idea up, what he did was he took and this connects with the drone shit too. It's like it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
He took if I want to make sure I get this right, a dielectric, which basically means it doesn't conduct electricity, and he put it between a negative and a positive pole of things, a thing that does conduct electricity, and then he pulsed it with very high, low amp but high voltage electrical things, and he noticed that there was this push, a lift almost towards the positive pole, but there was a dielectric in between the negative and the positive, which shouldn't be conducting electricity. So it wasn't the electricity that was causing this effect. Now, it has been debunked by the mainstream and the Wikipedia aspect of things as, it's ion wind. The electricity creates this effect called ion wind, and it creates this little lift, yada, yada, yada. But he proceeded to do this test over the next several decades. He worked with clandestine operations in the Navy, and then he went to France and was working with black ops shit with them in the 40s and 50s, and he proved that this effect was observable in a vacuum underwater and all these different places where ion wind would not be possible in these circumstances. So in other words, there was some coupling that was being observed between gravity and electromagnetism, and he was unable to get a real practical, in other words, you couldn't in the 20s make a plane that could run this way because he didn't really have a way to create this dielectric that would withstand this high energies and stuff. But people that have been looking into this have been like, this shit went black in the 50s. Like Boeing, there used to be an anti-gravity research thing that was very public in the 40s and 50s. And all of a sudden, it was gone, and we didn't hear about it anymore. And Brown kept trying to go to Rand Corporation and all these companies, and he was demonstrating that he had this effect with his experiments. He made a fan that created an airflow with supposedly out of nowhere. Like, he was tapping into something, and they're all shut him down. And he eventually died in the 80s. And I actually happened to meet his daughter, Linda Brown, about 10 years ago at a secret space conference in the BayArea. And she is
secret space conference?
With Joseph Farrell and Richard Dolan and all these folks. Like,
what does that even mean, a secret? Like, you guys met in fucking...
Oh, no. It was called, that was the name of it.
Okay. I'm like, you guys in darkness met somewhere?
No. It wasn't anything like that. No, it was like a big conference at a big amphitheater type thing, and everyone, all the
gotcha.
nerds were there.
All right. That was just the name of it.
Short, there's the tech, and this might not be the only one, but this breakaway civilization, as it were, they're using these way better forms of technology, and we are stuck on... I'll check out that Dan Winters guy. That name's familiar to me. Thanks to our experience. We're stuck with this normie tech. And you know, I don't know if you guys know about the Malaysian
MH370, yeah.
Flight,
that kind of just went poof.
I'll be completely frank with you. I don't know. It doesn't. I've listened to him talk about it. To me, I mean, I don't know. I don't get wowed by this. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not. I know what AI does. I know. Like, at the end of the day, like, to me, I see that and I go, that just is like, I'm looking at a screen. I know it's kind of a depressing way to look because it's like we're in a post-reality world by this standard. But it's like nothing. Like, there's no way that I can't know that's been altered for what I've seen.
I'm skeptical
you know
of
what I
that
mean?
footage as well.
Yeah,
But
like
I
that's
will
my
say,
point. It's like that could very easily just be bullshit. Like, very easily. And all I have is nerds saying it's bullshit and some other nerds saying it's not bullshit. And I'm not a nerd. I'm just like, this, okay, whatever. I'm just going to like, it means nothing to me. Like, it's like other than like a fun jumping off point for like maybe to jump to experimental science stuff. But even then, it's a faulty. I don't know. I feel bad because
I would say most of the stuff that we're being shown publicly today is fake and gay, at the risk of overusing that term. Okay.
Yeah.
And so all these things are heavily managed. And so, but I would say that as weird as it sounds, is also almost contradictory, is that going back and looking at these events from 100 years ago, there's almost more reality in them because they didn't really quite have this system of obfuscation yet. And even Roswell, where, you know, that's now become part of the zeitgeist of, oh, is the alien craft and everything. But the whole idea of aliens wasn't even alien bodies and stuff wasn't inserted into that story until 10 years later, at least. Like, it was originally just like, oh, this was a weird thing that crashed. And the government gave out 2 stories right away. Weather balloon and also top secret research. There was a government person that also said that, right? Top tech, secret tech, right? So they kind of split this false dichotomy early on. And then they give us these little carrots of aliens. And I think that's not, I don't think it's real. And I'm not saying that there aren't non-human entities.
Yeah.
But the narratives that Hollywood has given us is clearly the exoteric version where there's an esoteric one that is happening at the
There always is. Yeah.
There always is, right? And that's how they do it, right? And they string us along. And so that's why when we get these drone shit and now we're seeing the exoteric and esoteric kind of merge a little bit, where you're getting the Tesla Trump Tower guy, right? Whose name is
Livelsberger, Matthew Livelsberger. Yep.
And how
he was a Green Beret. Yep.
This sort of, he's going off about their Chinese gravitic, right? So when I saw that term gravitic, and the media didn't really talk about that as much as other things, right? But that's just, I immediately think of Thomas Townsend Brown and electrogravitics. And then how he went and said, oh, China and the US are the only ones that have this tech. And I'm like, I called BS on that right away, because Thomas Townsend Brown went to France and worked with their government agencies and corporations in the 50s and was showing them this gravitic tech. And this is like 70 years ago. So France has got it. Israel's got to have it. Most of these countries have got this tech. So I'm like, this Livelsberger is either he's being fed this stuff and hoping that he will go public with it as kind of a disinfo campaign. And it reminds me of William Cooper, who I mentioned earlier, in that Cooper, Bill Cooper, right, is like the pre-Alex Jones guy, right? Yeah. And he was amazing, and he went deep into the mystery schools, Mystery Babylon, and all that stuff. And I like inject that shit into my veins. I love that shit.
Yeah. I think it was like a radio show, right?
That's right. He did. Yeah, it was Hour of the Time, I think, is what it was called.
Hour of the Time.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I listened to the whole thing twice. So he said that when he was in the Navy on some assignment, and he was kind of like put into this position where they were looking for something or told to look for something, and they saw a craft come out of the water. And that was like this thing that it was a big formative experience for him. He was like, holy fuck, this tech is crazy. Like, what is this? And he later came, if I recall, and said he believes that that was like a psyop against him and the other people that were there, that they were kind of being like exposed to this tech and see how they would react to it and see what they would do and how they would say. And so I think a lot of this alien stuff, and then he was like, look, a lot of the people that are in the alien community, the alien research community,
it's Mirage Men bullshit.
they're all feds.
It's Men in Black, Mirage Men, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Stephen Greer's fucking worked for the Rockefeller, fucking for the Disclosure Project, like
$4,000 for like some kind of remote viewing session or something.
And I wonder a lot of these guys.
And real quick, just look at Stephen Greer. Look at a current photo of Stephen Greer. I'm not even kidding. I know this sounds like fucked up, but like physiognomy is a thing, and it goes a long way. And I don't know, especially pattern recognition is a thing. I'm not saying everyone who looks like Stephen Greer is bad, but people that look like Stephen Greer tend to be bad. Like so you just use your brain. Like, and then like you saw the fucking the egg thing that came out like a fucking week ago. I've almost already forgot about that. This just jogged my memory just because we were talking about Stephen Greer and that motherfucker, that other fucking bug-eyed fucking weirdo that fucking was supposedly the pilot who caught that fucking egg was just one of Stephen Greer's buddies, I guess. And like they were hooked up that one. I guess I'm not saying they're actually buddies, but I meant like they're linked up. This was part of the Disclosure Project. He was working with Stephen Greer to drop this. So this is part of that. Like, I mean, not that they were hiding that, but most people don't realize this. And it's like, yeah, dude, and you look at that motherfucker, and it's the same thing, physiognomy. And like this, we talked about, I literally made fun of our morning show. The motherfucker like bug-eyed, looked like he was methed out of his fucking mind. So, and like anyone who knows what they're looking at, like that dude's probably fucking MK Ultra out of his fucking mind on. So
this is a different rabbit hole, but you guys know about the parasite theory, right?
The wormpilled.
The Wormpilled, yeah. So,
yeah, real quick before we get into that, I do want to. Let's get into Wormpill. I love Wormpill. Dude, I went down the Wormpill. I read the whole goddamn PDF.
It's the physiognomy of the worm infected, and
yes, it gets real racist real quick. But all right, guys, real quick, I do want to remind you guys that today's episode was brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. If you're tired of the razor burn irritation, those ingrown hairs caused by those deep penetrating multi-blade cartridges, then this is the way to go. You don't need expensive bullshit. You can shave just like your grandpa used to, whether you're shaving your whole face or edging up your beard. The single blades provide a barber-grade shave for a fraction of the price. The standard edition includes one traditional safety razor and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. $75 allows you to shave for an entire year. Let's be real, though, that it's probably going to last you a lot longer. Mine's lasted me a lot longer. I barely cut into that. But if you are someone who shaves on the regular, like a daily shaver, you may want to consider the Quarter Shave Club. That puts you at about 25 cents per replacement blade. This is a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born out of refusing the COVID mandate. This is a company that creates a better product, a cheaper product, and it's from a company that doesn't fucking hate you. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And you can also get 10% off if you use code Jose for 10% off your entire order. Let them know I send you. Highly recommend it. Great people, great product. Go do it. All right, guys, let's get into the call-in portion of the show, and this is where we're going to interact with the chat as well. Also remind you guys, you can do Rumble rants on my stuff. I am demonetized on YouTube, but this also goes out to Austin's channel, so any of you guys listening, watching on Austin's channel, the Underclass Podcast, you guys can drop super chats there if you would like to. But yeah, super chats, Rumble rants, and then yeah, you guys can call in. I'm about to drop the number here in a second. 941-281-5857. Give that one a call. I do want to remind you guys, one of these days I'll figure out the logistics to make it work, but it's basically me and you having a conversation. You ask a question and move it on to them. They can hear you, but you can't hear them. So like you're essentially going to direct line to me. Everyone else on the show can hear you, but you're just talking to me, all right? They can hear you, and then you tell me what the question or whatever, your comment, whatever, and then we'll move on, and then we'll discuss your question, comment, concern, whatever. Or if you're a patron of me or Austin, you can actually hop on the screen on me with me, Foundring, and Jules. So that's for $2 for either me or Austin. Patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. I don't know what Austin's is, so
pretty good. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, pretty good deal. $2. You can hop on the screen. But yeah, all right. Let's. What were we talking about? We were talking about. Oh yeah, Jews. I mean, no, Wormpill.
And it's funny because my cat, they're connected, right?
Yeah,
my
it's cats. The cats is a big part of it.
Must have heard that I was talking about the worms because you know about the toxoplasmosis, right?
I love you, my little worm.
You're just a little wormy girl right here, right? That's good. It's getting in my brain, I guess. But, yeah, dude, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I love that worm that theory because you're like, I mean, I don't have any sort of deep parasitical knowledge of like how that stuff works, but I'm like, checks out to me. It makes sense.
I think it's like extra dimensional. I think there's a spiritual component to it. And the more that I've done, I wrote a song about it, right?
Worms in our butts.
Oh, you did a Wormpilled song,
people
dude?
Nuts.
Yeah, that's right, dude. Jules knows, man. Look at you got a real fan,
man. Yeah, it's something, brother.
And this is where like not doing gay stuff comes from too, because it's like the worms spread better through fecal matter and like blood and like
pedophilia because it actually it gets into can take over children easier.
Yeah.
right?
And the worms in them earlier.
And so then it makes you crave children is basically what this does. And it's a parasite infection. Once you start to like, it all starts to click, man. It really does. And then you kind of like, it spread through blood. And then you look at the bris ritual.
Yeah.
The bris ritual is like, they're biting the thing, right? And then the blood, and it's like the passing.
Sucking it.
And this is
the perfect way to pass issues. Wasn't it like years ago the common thing people always bring when they're shitting on Jews or whatever? They'll show the like clip of like the cases where however many herpes were gotten through brisses or whatever the fuck. Yeah, the one guy in New York was literally because I mean you're putting your mouth on something, you're creating a wound and you're essentially sucking on it. So like your blood, saliva, like all sorts of things moving around. A very easy way to spread any sort of infection. So
and then you know about the Knights Templar.
What about the Knights Templar? How does that connect to Wormpilled?
What about this?
So when they was it like the 13 something early 1300s when they was it the King of France said, "Oh, you guys are all banned," right? And then they arrested Jacques de Molay and they burned him at the stake, right?
Yes.
And then he cursed.
But real quick, do my video producer now because this is going to be a thing now. Just so you guys know, this is going to be a thing going forward. I've now hired a video producer, or I'm going to. He's kind of a trial period. I want that to be on the worm stuff. Just do the worm. I want it to be worm stuff. I want a worm intro or short or edit or whatever the fuck you do.
I give you permission. It's called the Parasite Pill.
There you go. You can use this song. I want worm shit. That's what
it's a music. I made a music video and it shows all the graphic shit. But anyway, just to finish my thought about the
sorry. I just wanted to point out put the worms while I'm on it.
So this, take it with a grain of salt. They're being tortured. But one of the things that they said was one of the rituals in the Knights Templar is they kiss the. It's like called the witch's kiss. So you kiss the anus of the person who's being ritually done, right? So there's so there is a mouth straight saliva to anus connection happening during that ritual, which again can be connected maybe to the.
I guess it depends on how you define that, because I feel like I could peck a butthole and be completely good and not have to worry about passing no worms.
Well, if you don't have any, if you've been taking your ivermectin, you can do all.
Well, my point being is like because you're but now like are we talking like you gotta like literally French kiss their butthole? That's a different story. Like that's your eating butthole at the point. Yes, hell yeah. There's my video guy right there, Tim Tuttle. Worms. He heard me. Worms, baby. Let's fucking go.
There are worms in their butts and they're driving people nuts.
Fucking yeah, dude. Fucking all that monkey. Remember all that monkeypox shit? Where all the fucking all the stories of all the people just with all the crazy monkeypox from all the crazy orgies and stuff. There you go. It's all wormpill shit, dude.
And the whole like AIDS thing is fake too, right? So HIV
just worms
doesn't exist, right? It's not real, and it doesn't cause AIDS. So AIDS comes from your lifestyle, right? So a lot of these are immune system things that come from drugs, toxic drugs you take, but also the degenerate behavior, and there's a spiritual component as well. So it's like the idea of a virus that, I mean, sure, you can catch things from other people, but it's not as simple, I think. This is not, I'm not a medical doctor here, right? Even though they don't know fucking anything, right? But there's something else going on here with the spread of disease. And a lot of it is just this toxic bullshit. And with polio and all of that, Joe, we got some Templars in chat.
But I was going to ask, man.
All those
guilty.
As long as you guys are keeping your body free of these parasites, you can go to town, man. Have at it. But when it comes to promote, it's the cuckoldry, right? It's when you start becoming that cuck and then sharing the partners, and it's the sharing of the worm is really what's going on here. And this could be a physical thing, but it's also something else too, a spiritual aspect. And I think the Bible and then go back to...
That nigga is ruled by the worm. Like that motherfucker is ruled by the worm.
So RFK Jr. had the worm in his head.
Yeah.
And then like, that's why I'm like, was that a bit of disclosure?
Yeah.
Soft
real,
disclosure
dog.
on that half.
Worm in his head. Oh, how crazy. He was like, yeah, dude, they just fucking... told you they're been controlling you with worms since ancient Sumerian times.
Revelation of the method.
It is the revelation of the method. That's exactly right. And then if you look at the Egyptian pharaohs and then the snake that's coming out of their heads, it actually it coils in their
Absolutely.
brain
What was
around
it?
their
What was it in
tiny little-
Stargate? Wasn't Stargate the
Stargate's
whole
got
the whole?
all-
I never watched it, but I know the
100%.
bad guys were like they had like literally like some sort of worm. They were literally like
That's
a
it.
parasite of some sort that were controlling, and that was like the whole idea. Like those were the original Sumerian gods, the Anunnaki, like Jules likes to talk about on his show. It's like those were essentially worm people, and they were controlling these. They were controlling people, and people thought they were like super duper special and gods and all this. And you know, they were just fucking parasitical worms inside of fucking human bodies, convincing humans they were gods. So, like, I don't know.
I've never
Or
really
is it?
looked at it like that, man. That's fucking wild.
It's
Yeah.
very wild. And then it kind of goes into, it ties in a little bit to the greater Earth theory as well. In that one of the ideas is that we've been colonized right by the gods, right? These whatever, back in the ancient times, the Stargate, you know, is what it is. It always didn't sit right with me, this notion of the breed, because so many of these, you know, even Scientology, even the Mormon shit, it's like the gods bred with the women of
Dude,
Earth.
Sorry, Operation Stargate. I don't know if I'm not saying that connects at all, but I just recall jumbo Stargate worms. I mean, this just word association means nothing, but
as on purpose. This is words are spells, bro.
Mhm.
Like words are magic
Spelling.
spells. It's spelling, right? And so these terms have a lot of history to them, right? And then we when you start really thinking about how language was created and going back to Shakespeare and all that, and yeah, you're right, wormhole. All these things are very
Dude,
specifically done.
I'm thinking about Stargate. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like I just today on my show delved deep into like Sam Altman's ideology. Well, not too deep, but like a cursory deep and dig into like this AI, you know, future proposed tech lord. Although China just kind of fucked them. Like the idea of what they're like. What? So this guy's a Stargate guy, kind of like I think he's somehow tied up.
Also a Jewish pedophile.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Because didn't he like molested his sister for years, right?
Okay, I actually also dug into that on the show, and honestly, there's convincing arguments. I mean, I don't know. Is
she
really
crazy? I mean, because that could be true.
I don't know. I can't get a grip if she's crazy, but it is really like it really could go either way. It's completely explainable either way. I'm not willing to jump on either way, but he's still a fucking weirdo. But like either way, he's still a weirdo. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, if she's just crazy. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of shady stuff going on in that family, and it's a fucked up family, clearly. But either way, no, I was just thinking about like Stargate, because like Project Stargate, like the idea of what's like the future, like what this is going to be is essentially going to be like, oh, we all have like a UBI, and then we have like these tech overlords essentially that are like killing it, you know, and we're taxing off of like land because we're supposedly going to like innovate so crazy that all this stuff's going to go up, but all the prices are going to go down, and then I don't know, it's just. But my point being is like the idea of this future, like almost gods among men, like these like what they want to be, these monopolists, these these future robber barons. Like, so it's like Stargate. There you go. That's just what I told you. Like, boom, they're all wormpilled, dog.
So, you guys know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I was just thinking of it because one of the things is it's not a worm, but they put a fish called the Babel fish in your ear, and you can speak all the different languages, and it's like this great. It's like a proof of God, even. No, the reason I was thinking of Hitchhikers is, one of the themes of this of one of the books. It's not a spoiler. Is that there's this sort of malevolent AI that is speeding up. So like there's this planet, right? And they're covered with a cloud covering, right? And so they can't see the stars. And so they don't know anything exists other than themselves. They're just this lovely little planet that we live on. And then there's this kind of rogue AI that's been around from a previous thing, right? And he's like, oh, I know what to do with these guys. I'm going to kind of warp them to my own, my own desires. And he crashes a kind of like a Roswell ship, like a broken alien ship onto the planet. And then they re-engineer it, reverse engineer. They're like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. Like, what? They're not even looking up. It just is there. And they are able to go up to they break through the cloud barrier. And the first guys on this planet, they break through and they see all the stars and the rest of the universe. They're like, fuck this. It's got to go. This is it. Right. And so the idea is this AI kind of thing is accelerating. This culture was not emotionally mature enough to handle the level of technology that it was given. And it was used by this whatever it was to accelerate far beyond what it could do. And I see so many parallels. I don't know if Douglas Adams, the guy who wrote Hitchhiker's, like new shit, but just sort of what we've been put through and how we've been accelerated. And they say, oh, it's aliens. And to go back to what I was kind of saying about how, oh, the aliens and they came and then the gods or whatever, and they reproduce with females. It just doesn't really make sense that they're flying from like billions of miles away. I don't need to devolve into like space is fake and gay, but like the idea of this other, there must be not even be carbon-based life forms or whatever, and then they're able to reproduce with it. It doesn't make sense. It makes more sense to me that we're all part of a larger system, if you get where I'm going here, and that it kind of isn't really very far to get to outer space. This outer space is a little bit closer, and that we've been kind of invaded by this parasitical thing, and technology seems to be part of it. I know I'm going full schizo right now, but this idea of, to bring it back to the Sam Altmans, and then even just the Elon Musks, and then this AI Sputnik moment that we're having with was it the Deep Seek or whatever it's called?
Yeah, where they just butt fuck the shit out of
they
our
did,
AI.
but then now they're saying, oh, is it based off of Chat GPT? That's all this. It's weird that this humans playing God, but I feel like something is playing with us at the same time. And as that gets closer to and closer, I don't know if it's the singularity, but we're getting closer to some sort of disclosure. And they're trying to manage it as much as possible and keeping the alien meme there. And that's why all these Greers are out there. And just to throw a couple names out there, Bud Powell, who passed away a number of years ago, William Cooper called him out. Was a leader in the UFO alien research thing. He's CIA through and through. And he was in a romantic relationship with Leslie Kean, who also is another CIA UFO alien researcher. So they're planting all these seeds in a way that is just really aggressive, and they're doing it to obfuscate. I think it's easy to be like, oh yeah, this is just alien tech, or even this is Chinese tech, when no, it's actually, this is our tech. We're looking at it, and is there a component of this other extra government intranational entity? And it can be on the moon, it can be on Mars, it can be out beyond the ice wall. I don't know, but I think they have a different financial system, and it's an open system. This idea of the Thomas Townsend Brown, it's not a closed system. It's an open system where we can tap into this ether, this energy force. The money system isn't finite. We could actually get infinite energy and infinite whatever, but it's being corralled, kind of like humans are kind of corralled right now. And we're at this point of this influx, or this crux of this change, where something, I don't know, big might be happening right now. So I feel like we're lucky to be alive.
On that point of them trying to make themselves gods, that kind of made me think of something. I think this example with like the Altmans of the world, the US AI race versus China AI race. Like I'm not one who's like, I know everyone's like, oh, we have to have this first. I'm not one who's caught up on that. But that aside, like I'm not really too worried. I think there's something honestly kind of beautiful here, because I mean, especially for those who understand economics and like how the difference between like a stagnant market and like a free market. And like essentially, like we're seeing here in the States, we've essentially appointed a handful of oligarchs in the AI realms that now we're going to give all the money to you, and we're gonna push everything into here, and we're gonna essentially force this to happen. We're gonna insert our big heavy hand and interfere with the market. Whereas in China, took a far more. I mean, obviously still China, but it seems like they took far more of a free market approach. They found a way. They open source. They found ways to innovate to where it was like something like a tenth of the cost to make. It was also like took like not like a fraction of the team. Like they innovated the fuck out of it, utilized the free market energy, and just threw it out to the world. And so like on that note of like men trying to be gods, it's like you're always fighting against, like you're fighting a losing game. Like you may at times, but eventually in the long run, you're gonna come back down, and you're not gonna be a fucking god, because like it's just not. I just don't think that's how that's gonna work. I think they're. I don't know. Dick Dory's saying China stole everything. They didn't steal shit. Well, IP is fake and gay, so I don't believe in intellectual property. If you want to not get it out, keep it to yourself, I guess, because thoughts aren't property. I don't know, like. Or ideas aren't property. If I could somehow pull a thought out of your head, I guess you could probably make an argument for that thought inside your head being property. But once you've released it to the world, I'm sorry, it's no longer your property. It just is what it is. I'm not doing it. Go and look into Kinsella if you wanted to get into IP debates, because that ain't it. But generally speaking, I lean on it's not fucking property. Sorry. IP is fake and gay, but they are creative. Yes, but the problem is when we stagnate the market and then we end up with these fucks like we do now. So, sorry, I ran it for a little bit there, but I just thought there was something there with the whole idea of that, like, I don't know, you're not going to be a god. Although I say that, though, we still have like the Rockefellers and the weird fucking people of the world, but I think they're consumed by worms. So, I mean, it's kind of like, you know.
That's the trade-off. If you want to become a god, then you have to have a worm in your butt. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know. I think I kind of like being human.
Alan says the worms keep telling me I'm a starseed.
You might be. You might be a starseed.
Yeah, which for those who don't know, isn't that the one that like all the people? There's just like a whole class of people out there that are like, especially in this realm, which I don't know if it's a grift or they're just that out of it, where they think they're like communing with aliens and shit. And there are other people who are like, I'm a starseed, like I'm a, yeah. So I don't know.
You know, there's even like there's people that say that they can call these drone type things.
Perhaps they can.
And so I think that there is maybe something going on there, but for like the shit that they were in New Jersey and stuff, that's our tech, and it's been classified forever. Why they're bringing it out now as a mass, like it's like their weird way of disclosing it, I think, and I think Trump's kind of in on that now, in that he is playing that role and saying, oh yeah, it's our tech, and then kind of like, and we'll see if they talk about it anymore. But it's just so wild that, and it's a testament to how blistering this social media pace is, the news pace is. It's like,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Play it. Yeah.
I just want to play this real quick because for those who are like you who aren't aware, I guess there was a recently today. I didn't watch the whole thing. Obviously, I'm just seeing the clips here and there because I don't know. I'm not watching this whole stupid fucking thing. But I guess there was like a White House briefing. There's a new.
Job.
Apparently she did a good job. Okay. I know, we're about to find out. I didn't even watch the video because normally what I do is I save these and I watch them with you guys and it's raw as fuck. But all right, let's watch it now.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly.
She's kind of cute, but looks like a prude. But let's go on.
An update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals.
He's just padding it a little bit. The first bit is the important part, right?
Yeah.
So it was us.
Yep.
Yes. And then we moved on from that. But I see what you're saying, that it's a nothing burger in the chat, but at the same time, it's like, it is also, it's everything. It's like, why
it's kind of what we knew, but
say that in the first place? Like, it's like, yeah, it's like, it's us. Stop panicking. Stop freaking out about all this shit. But there is a reason that they didn't. And there's a reason why they're telling us now. And I'm suspicious. I mean, Trump's not coming out. I mean, maybe he'll do an executive order because every day there's like something crazy, right? But he's not coming out and saying, yes, we are experimenting with different types of technologies that are outside of Newtonian and Einsteinian physics, right? That is going to be a big, because when that comes out, because that is what has been going on, whether or not it's practical and it can whatever, that's a different conversation, but it's been going on, and it went black a long time ago, and the implications are completely paradigm shifting, and free energy, these airplanes and these Elon Musk SpaceX rockets, it's all just bullshit. It's all, again, like I said earlier, firecrackers that are nothing compared to the true potential of what's going on here.
Stuff that they've had for far longer than we even know, right?
Right. And then I wonder about how much is it even go back before Tesla and Thomas Townsend Brown?
Most likely. Yeah.
You guys remember this cocksucker?
No.
You guys don't remember this? Are you seeing? Yeah, you see? Remember when the congressman lied about the drones being Iranian? You guys remember when the claims were that they were Iranian?
Can you? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's believing that's Iranian drones.
I'm still astounded they did that though, because that like, I feel like this has got to be political suicide. Like, I don't know who this dude is, but how the fuck would you not bring this up every time? Like, now this is like in aftermath. This is such a crazy fucking thing to say. Like, especially in the aftermath, like knowing, like he almost immediately got rebuked for it,
there, right? Because Tulsi is not going to come out and be like, actually, Iran is sending these drones. I mean, maybe I'm giving her too much credit, but like, I don't know, man. I think that these days of fear mongering is is over. Of just like even the Livelsberger or whatever that guy's name is, like being like, yes, these are Chinese gravitic drones. Such a very odd, specific thing to say, and using that term gravitics just makes my conspiracy tinfoil tingle, like hat tingle. It's wild. Like all this stuff is coming to the head again, and so I wonder how much it is being managed just to, again, as part of this public perception theatrical aspect of it, and some of it is just the momentum. It's only a matter of time. They can't keep this shit secret forever. People are doing these experiments themselves. They can't kill everybody that comes up with this stuff and memory hold them. Like Thomas Townsend Brown's life is out there. Like you can research his biography. It's pretty well known that books have been written about this stuff.
Yeah. Guys, no golden age. We're getting neo-feudalism. That's what Joey Poopbag said. Yeah, that's basically what I was saying earlier. Like neo-feudalism is basically what they're describing. Like we'll give you guys all what you need, a little bit, you get like $14K a year, and then we'll rule above you, and play little games with our little rats that live in cages. So, yeah. What else? Anything? You've been quiet for a while, Jules. You have any thoughts?
Well, I'm just enjoying all this worm talk. It's something that I haven't really talked too much about before. But
you've never gone wormpilled? That seems like a perfect topic for your
show. At first, you were kind of connecting them to the Jews, and then you switch it up to cats. And I was like, they're kind of like Jews too. The whole.
Well, the thing is, they say that it transforms your appearance. I think is that what they say, and so that's where it comes into. So this is like the idea of people like the idea of being disgusted, visually
it's the
disgusted.
Big smile that never reaches their eyes. I don't know if you ever can see it. The great, Black Hole Sun? The song Black Hole Sun?
Yeah. The song. I thought you were like referring.
Yeah,
to
no. Well, no, not the Black Sun. That's a whole different thing. No. The Black Hole Sun. The music video for that is like it's just creepy. They're looking their eyes, and it's like this big, wide smile, but it never quite reaches the eyes. So yeah, there's something with the physiognomy that you can kind of sense. I think.
Yes, there's it's like the idea of like uncanny valley. You see that your body is immediately has disgust. Like there's certain things, and the same thing as there's certain people that like. I mean, there is like an argument that even when the Wormpilled argument that they'll say like you shouldn't judge people, and so they sort of break down your natural barriers of like. Like you go, oh, something's off-putting about us. Like it's kind of the idea of like, so women will say if they get the ick, like they'll get away from, because they just have like instincts. They're like, I'm not. And it's the same idea where you see something and you're like, you just know in the back of your head, you're like, something's wrong. But a lot of times you've been trained to be like, fuck it, because we're in this world of like everyone's special, everyone's great. Don't be any sort of ist, or don't do any isms or whatever. And you're like, you're not allowed to judge. And you're like, I don't know. And you're like, if it's just on appearance, it is kind of like you feel superficial, and that is on its face. But like, I do think to some extent you should sort of maybe listen to your gut and be like. But obviously, if you do end up with someone who's weird, who's off-putting, and then he's perfectly fine, and you can be wrong. Your instincts can be wrong. But my point is sometimes just take them under advisement. Take it as counsel. And,
maybe you're the one that has
lead you a long way.
Infected, and that you're reacting to the normal people.
Yes, exactly. Whoa, I accidentally clicked on glowy wife. I don't know anything about Cooper having a glowy wife. Is that I opened this. Like, someone who grew up listening to Cooper would be awesome to hear his take on why he was taken out. If you guys have time. Ooh, okay, that's fun. Yeah, because that is the thing. Cooper, I know there's a lot of talks on like whether he was manipulated or whether he was controlled op or whatever. I think if anything, he might be manipulated. There are definitely things. I mean, I don't know enough about him, but the little bit I've looked into, there are things in his that seem to be that he was manipulated certain ways by other actors, kind of like the Mirage Men shit we were talking about earlier. I think there might be some of that. There might be to some extent where he's just full of shit. I don't fucking know, or he's a fed. But I do think, I think he might have just been manipulated. That's kind of my feeling. But
he even admitted that he was manipulated.
Yes, exactly, he did. Right. But it's like my point being is, if you're admitting it, is that because you got like you need an excuse? You know what I mean? Like. I don't know. I'm not saying that is one way or the other, but exactly. So he was. It looked like he was killed by law enforcement, I believe, if I recall correctly, right?
I was about to say he's the one that exposed Alex Jones first, right?
Yeah. He was. It was like a sting operation where feds went undercover and pretended to be like rowdy drinking teenagers on his property, and he basically came out with a shotgun and he was like, "Get off my property!" and they shot him. And they said that he shot at them first or whatever, but
Wait, that was Cooper?
it was a sting and it was an execution as really, and it was
okay.
about a month or two after 9/11, if I recall correctly. So shit was going wild. I mean,
Perfect timing, right?
Yeah. And then they were doing the anthrax scare. So the feds were it was all fucked up. That was such a crazy time to be alive too. To live through all that and see all that. That was wild. Like many psyops.
Oh, I forgot. Right before we started, there was I saw a tweet from Raw Alerts saying Trump had just signed an executive order to restrict chemical and surgical gender affirming care for
That's
minors.
the big one from today. Yep.
Yeah.
So huge. I mean, that's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
We are no longer sacrificing our young to Moloch. So that's cool. Well, we are. We still have abortion, but at least less to Moloch. So I guess that's
Most
cool.
people just don't know
improvement. Yeah.
We do have a Rumble rant.
Do we? Oh,
$10 from JC says, can't wait to see Foundring on Sound Science. And I was going to talk to you about that. My show with Paranoid American.
Hey, shout out to JC. He's awesome.
Oh, that would be perfect. I forgot. Jules has a show where he kind of talks about just kind of like you guys how music and then just kind of
kind of the aesthetic.
I do music. I do music.
I know. And any symbolism or like conspiratorial kind of angle to it as well.
Hey, well, there's the whole Laurel Canyon thing in the 60s, and then the Jim Morrisons and his dad, and man, there's so many rabbit holes there. All these guys, it's just crazy.
Yeah, man. So we'll have to talk about that
for sure.
Yeah, there are other people agreeing with you. I guess that is the case. I've never looked into the Cooper one. It's one I need to look into, especially since it's in my intro. Because we've made a point to look into some of those because some of those we don't know. Obviously, some of we do. Here's one question I wanted to ask you. I just want your thoughts. Do you ever go into the Yiki wormhole? Because that's kind of been my thing. Yiki and then Oklahoma City bombing at large.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. In fact, I connected with his wife on X recently.
I've had her on my show.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
great.
the one who had her had her first
Wonderful.
interview in over a couple decades. She hadn't been interviewed since 1996, and then I interviewed her, and she hasn't been interviewed since.
Right.
I mean, I hope it'd be cool if she goes on maybe some. That's up to her. Whatever. But
I want her. I was like, you need to do a space or something. But no, that is a whole crazy rabbit hole. And then, with the tech that was used on Oklahoma City bombing, I think was some sort of exotic tech.
Oh, like the bomb? Yeah, there is thoughts that Michael Riconosciuto, who was a big spook in the whole octopus shit with Danny Casolaro and shit.
Danny,
yeah, he plays a part in the OKC stuff, and that's where it comes. That's where that comes from. He's the one who dropped the I forget the specifics of his claims, but he essentially said it was some sort of essentially it releases droplets of some sort of explosive into the air, kind of permeates the atmosphere, and then boom, some sort of weird explosion device like that, and kind of you might even see sparks is one of the main things. And there were some eyewitness reports of seeing sparks, and I want to say also blue hues or something, or something. So there was some weird things that seemed to comport to that shit. So I don't know whether it's legit or not. I've always been a little bit sussed out by that because it's I don't know, C4 would just make a lot more fucking sense than some weird ass fucking bomb. But it's also on the flip side, it's you can kind of hide an absurdity if you're the government.
And sometimes they do multiple methods in the same event. So they will have bombs and then they will do other stuff. I think that's what we saw.
There we go.
9/11.
The hydrodynamic gaseous fuel device. I believe that's what it's called. But go on, sir.
Nice. Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's all sorts of different types of these exotic techs, and many of them have energy making characteristics and propulsion characteristics, and then others are very destructive. And I think they're all connected. There's tapping into something, some self-replicating force, just like what you were describing about how the explosion sort of continues. It's almost like a molecule. It's like a different type of thing, right? And that kind of ties into the whole direct energy weapons thing, which is another thing that makes a lot of people kind of roll their eyes back, and they're like, okay, another DEW, but that's a whole family of weapons. There's a whole different.
Did you hear Trump when he was talking about the fires recently?
The California thing.
Where he was talking about he goes, it looks like something big. I'm not gonna say what, but it looks like something real big. I'm not gonna say, but man, it just I don't remember the way he worded it was he's I mean, obviously maybe he's just being Trump, but and just being kind of trying to make everything hyperbolic, but he was like, it was really
it's
implying
like-
you're like
it's
a nuke or
carrot
direct
for the
weapon or
conspiracy theories.
yeah,
It's
you're
really
like,
what
"You
it is. It's,
motherfucker." Yeah.
they're dangling these things in front of us, I think, and I think he's being a little tongue in cheek there. I'm not one who's like every single fire ever is a direct energy weapon, but there's so many things that are weird about some of these events that it's really become. The evidence is starting to pile up. And when I really did a deep dive into 9/11, I'm just beyond convinced that some unconventional exotic technology was used that day, mostly just because the sheer matter of those towers it does not correspond with what we saw. I mean, sure, there was massive destruction and debris everywhere, but there was so much matter in those two buildings, and the fact that it mostly was just gone, and then there wasn't a seismic impact either that was commensurate with what it should have been, and they detected all sorts of electromagnetic, there's that word again, anomalies in stations all the way in Alaska and stuff. So there's so many weird things that we saw, and sure, maybe there was the thermite aspect, and then there were bombs absolutely in the buildings, and then you have the Israeli company that was in there doing all stuff. There's all these different factions, so I think that these events have multiple layers, right? And so, yeah, some of people you got the dancing Israelis that are going in there, they're seeing it. But do I think that they're the ones wielding this direct energy weapon technology, like from Israel? Like, I'm not sure about that, right? I'm sure they want us to think that they run the world, right? You had that Mossad guy being like, we are the players on the stage and we do all the events. And I'm like,
yep.
Bro, that's retarded. You just
do you remember who the first major political figure who really dropped some sort of like sauce about something being legit, like there being like crazy alien shit going on, and not like I'd like to hear about this, and like this is something that's happening. It was like the head of like essentially the Space Force of Israel. It was like something like a decade ago or something.
That's right.
Yeah. So it was like that's where. I mean, if we're talking about disinfo and like who's controlling the info and who's got the space lasers and who's, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's not much. I do want to point out. Someone said there were reports of fires being started by smart meters.
That
I don't know
is
if you were
another
looking at that one.
aspect of it. Yes, I've seen that, and that's been talked about for a while as well as the smart meter component. And I think that is credible. I think it is a credible thing, but not the only explanation, right? I think that's why these events are so hard to dissect, is because there are a combination of different forces and technologies and then factors and even players that are
rogue homeless arsonists. Yes,
that's right. I mean, they're part of it too, right? So
did you hear about the what was it called? Oh fuck, there was the flashy little name for that they had for it, but I remember the Sean Ryan show. There was one of their fucking guests was talking about like what do they call it? Fire jihad is what they call it, but essentially the idea that like they made the thing about, and then obviously it was just like a thing they talked about, and then it kind of went viral. But the implication is that like, oh, it could be that like Al Qaeda's starting fires, like that's a thing they talked about like one time like fucking 20 years ago. So like it could be. So you're like, that was one thing I talked about tinfoil hat too, is like how all roads, like right now, like there's also this like upcoming new media class where we have these especially like these like essentially former feds or current feds, whatever you want to call them, and how they've kind of, a lot of these have got podcasts or whatever, and it's like, I don't know, it's interesting how like a lot of these, they're infiltrating all these different narratives, like, and they're every single one right now. Like with that, like Livelsberger that entered into the alien stuff, like
they keep trying to create new boogeymen, right? And so
that's it's almost like they're permeating every narrative, so they're there whenever something pops off,
And they're trolling us at the same time. I saw someone was asking about the blue paint thing, and I think that there is that's another thing that is partly credible, but at the same time they troll us with it, because I remember like we all were talking about that after the LA fire thing, and then some mainstream media thing was like, look at this giant destruction except for this one blue car right in the middle. Like, I feel like they're doing this on purpose, is just to be, again, to kind of troll us. And whenever we kind of catch on to something, they kind of go really hard on that and try to make it really obvious. So it's just this weird game, and it makes me kind of not want to participate sometimes, because I'm like, I want to spread awareness and expose all this nonsense, but at the same time, I don't want to keep going down these fake rabbit holes, and because that's what they're doing like with these psyops all the time. It's exhausting to keep up with, but it's exciting at the same time, because again, I think we're at this point where they can't keep this stuff under wraps for that much longer. Yeah, buckle up. It's gonna get. I mean, the alien invasions is any day now, man. It's gonna be fake though, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be fake for sure. But I've definitely, like, it's funny. Like, I want to say it was like whether it was weeks, days, or like months before the whole like New Jersey drones things. I was like, I bet you, like, because someone on my show asked me, they were like, hey, because I mean, Oklahoma City bombing's kind of like been my beat for the while, and so everyone's always like, why? Oh, do you feel like another one's coming? And there was a period of time where I'm like, I feel like, and I'm not saying there's going to be, but I just feel like this is the ideal time for like a false flag or something. Now, but when they ask me, but I'm like, no, I'm not feeling. I'm feeling more like Blue Beam. I don't think they're gonna go full on like killing some people type shit, like, you know, full on kinetic. It's like we're in an age where it was just the ideal time. I felt the narratives in the air, and I don't know. I just feel like they need something big, and they need something that doesn't take a lot of proving.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. Like, even now, like what proof do we have about any of this drone bullshit?
Well, you know, that's
FAA says good. Okay, all right, sure. Some fucking bitch in the White House said some shit, so yeah, I guess we're gonna fucking take her word for it.
Yeah,
that's all we had. Some
invasion.
Yeah, so,
right.
Sorry. Huh?
No, sorry. I didn't know you were still talking. You know how I interrupt sometimes. I was gonna say I think the real alien invasion already happened. It's been happening, and it's spiritual, right? It's been written about in tons of ancient texts. Yeah, Nephilim shit. There you go. So yeah, this stuff is just kind of a distraction.
I think the real alien shit is the friends we made along the way.
It could be. It's the worms we made along. The worms we.
Yeah, the worms that inhabited our butts.
Yeah.
Driving people nuts.
Yeah.
I gotta go listen to that after this now.
Well, all right, Foundring. This has been a fun episode. We're coming to the end. You want to let people know where they can find you, and we'll go ahead and get you out of here.
Yeah. I'm banned on YouTube, whatever. So I'm on Rumble now. Foundring on Rumble, and I have, I'm Odyssey, BitChute, but mostly my audience now is on X. So Foundring 1 on X. So yeah, that's it.
Hell yeah, Jules.
Guys, Greypilled Pod on Twitter, Greypilled_podcast on Instagram, Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. 1 year anniversary this Sunday, guys. I'm having a bunch of people on. I'm kind of doing like an all day stream. So yeah, come hang out. I'll kind of be posting about it throughout the week. So
hell yeah, dude. I'll try to stop in if I can at some point. It's a Sunday, so I can't promise I won't be busy because it's all family time. But I usually try to squeeze in a stream on the weekends, so I could probably spare 15 minutes here or there. Yeah, guys, I appreciate, once again, Foundering, appreciate you coming on. This is a fun episode. We'll definitely have to do something again some other time. Maybe, say when Austin's back or something, we can have a different lineup. And then also, you definitely should probably go on Jules' show. You're kind of fucking made for it.
It sounds like we've already been talking about it. So
we got to get you on Sound Science, and I got to get you on the Greypilled podcast just to talk about conspiracies and what you said.
As you can tell, I kind of ramble. Once you get me going on them, I keep going.
Yeah,
so.
Easy episode. Just throw a few questions at you every now and then and just kind of chill out. Content made. But guys, if you want to support what I'm doing, you do over there at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Oh yeah, before that, I just want to remind you, before I do the whole plug, I actually just got a text mid episode from Sammy T. It's going to drop tomorrow morning, or Wednesday morning, because I know not everybody watches this Tuesday night. But yeah, so keep an eye out. That episode should be dropping pretty soon.
Say, when the fuck is Jules' episode, Sam?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I meant to say something to it. But anyways, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020 if you want to support me. The lowest level is $2. That's where you can be a talking head on this show. That's also where you can get early episodes. I have a Vegas episode in the wing right now if you guys want to get in on that. Also, I have the highest levels. My sponsors, I read them off every episode. My co-host on Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Toad, at Abrogate D's, at ZOVRACK, at _Infinite Seal, Jacob Daniel, Tim Tuttle has at Dolion Klebold, then Will Bell has a delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine, then a big fan of the show, Torin May, then at INWARD Lover, at Inward Lover, because we all should learn to look a little bit inward and learn to love ourselves, and we should all be inward lovers. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Leave a 5-star review. It helps out a lot, helps out a bunch. Appreciate everyone who showed up today. Hugs and kisses, baby. Deuces. Bye-bye.